math-wise, I'm going to throw some numbers at you. So I went on the over-the-cap trade value chart, which is what every team has their own trade chart that they assign values to, but this is just a general one, which is pretty close to what most teams work with. I looked at the Jets going 7-1, the Jets going 5-1, and the Jets going 3-1. All of them are overpays in different regards, but I'm curious if you would do this, all right? So for the Jets to go to 7-1, Zach, they give up the number 7 overall pick in the draft and the number 18 pick in the draft, which is the Colts. That would be about a 500-point value overpay to go from 7-1. Would you do that?
If I'm the team at number 1, you're saying? Or if I'm the Jets?
If you're the Jets, if you think this, because they're overpays, so theoretically the other team would accept it. So do you think the Jets should do that? Because these are what I pieced together here. Let me explain it this way. What I pieced together this year are trades that, from a value perspective, work. Like they work from a value perspective. So for the Jets to go to 7-1, giving up the number 7 overall pick in the draft and the number 18 pick in the draft is a 500-point overpay. If you're the Giants at number 1, do you accept that deal? 7 and 18 for one.
If I'm the Giants, I don't know. I think you can get more than that. So I don't think I accept that from the Giants. If I'm the Jets, I do that. I mean, you're going to have multiple teams that want to trade up. If this is a 1 quarterback draft and the Jets need a quarterback, going from 7-1 is a lot farther than if you're talking the Browns, who have an additional first-round pick, or if you're talking the Raiders, who would probably trade a lot to move up. So, the Giants going down from 1 to 3 is a little different from 1 to 7. They might be like, okay, we can get an additional first-round pick and stay at number 3. So, no, I don't think the Giants would do that necessarily. I mean, it would depend on what the other offers were, but I lean no on that.
All right, we'll play you be the other team then. The other one that works for a point value is the one we'll look at from 7-1, is you give the Jets 7th and the Jets 2nd-round pick. That's a 100-point value overpay. But again, when you're dealing with a quarterback, a lot of times the values don't come into consideration. And if you're Giants, you're not even going to consider that.
No, I mean, I think future picks are always more valuable than current picks too. So I don't think there's any way the Giants do this if they're not getting a first, a second next year. And they would be in their right to not do that. And that's why it's funny when you look back at the Sam Darnold draft is probably like the most comparable one to this. Where the Jets wanted to trade. The Jets wanted to trade up with the Giants, and Dave Gettleman was like, "No, I want Saquon." And so they went up to 3rd instead. And that it feels like that here. I'm sure somebody, like we say right now, it's a 1 quarterback draft, especially because we don't know if Dante Moore's coming out. Somebody like that might come out or might emerge that we don't expect, and there'll probably be a 2nd quarterback that everybody talks themselves into. But the Jets have learned you don't want to be the runner-up usually in these cases, they got Zach Wilson. You can get Jaden Daniels, but it doesn't always happen like that. You can't get Drake May. It doesn't always happen like that. So, but yeah, I'm just very curious. Like the Jets, if they're doing that, they need to decide like Fernando Mendoza is the guy, and you're banking your jobs on that. Like if you're going up and saying Fernando Mendoza is our guy, we're giving up all these assets. We're going to make it a little bit harder to build the roster around him, but we think he's worth it. You go up and do it. They're not a playoff team next year. If they start off worse the year after that, everybody's losing their job, and it's because the Mendoza pick didn't work out ultimately. So there's a lot of pressure involved in that, but that's why you get paid to do this. And I think Muji, he really learned a lot in Denver from the whole Bo Nix situation, the way they scouted him, the way they decided he was their guy no matter what everybody else felt about him, and they kept it a secret the whole time, and they did a really good job with that. So I'm very curious to see how they approach this and what they feel about Fernando Mendoza, what they feel about Dante Moore or Ty Simpson, and it's going to be all we talk about over the next few months.
The big thing about Bo, though, is having Sean Payton in the building. Like, that's the thing. And I don't know if that's Tanner who identifies this. I don't know if it's London. I don't know if it's Scott Turner. I don't know who in the Jets building. Maybe even Scott calls on his dad, Norv, and Norv steps in and makes, watches some film and helps him out and says, hey, I think this guy's an absolute stud. Let's go get him, because Norv is one of the better offensive minds we've seen in the NFL in recent years. Maybe that's it. But like we said, Zach, key is having 2 teams that are picking 1 and 2, 2 and 1, not needing a quarterback, which opens up the possibility for the Jets to go trade him. Giants' remaining schedule, this is the one Jet fans aren't going to love to hear. They've had the hardest schedule in the NFL to this point. They close it out, and it's pretty easy. It's Washington, Minnesota, the Raiders, and the Cowboys. So I do believe that ultimately the Giants are going to win 2-3 of these games, take themselves completely out of the order. Even if it's Dart playing or it's Jameis playing, like the Giants seem to put up some points and do some things that are good. So I think they're going to steal a couple of those games there, which will take them out of the top pick consideration. The Titans' remaining schedule, much more challenging. 49ers, Chiefs, Saints, and Jaguars. The only one there that's the big question mark with the Titans is the Saints. And also, like, Shuck's playing some good ball right now for the Saints. Like, he's looking okay at quarterback. I think there's a good chance that the Titans lose that game. I do. So I think there's a chance the Titans lose out and are picking 1 or 2, and then the Jets can go up there and get that pick. One other selection I do want to talk about quickly here, Zach, because it's big news with Riley Leonard dealing with a knee injury with the Colts, Daniel Jones out for the season with the ruptured Achilles tendon. The Indianapolis Colts have gone from potential number 1 or 2 seed in the AFC, no doubt winning the AFC South, legitimate potential possible Super Bowl contender if Daniel Jones is as good as people expect, to now a team that is 8-5, out of the playoff picture, and without Sauce Gardner, who's dealing with an injury, without Daniel Jones, without the quarterback situation now suddenly so murky, they might completely and totally miss the playoffs. In fact, with the Seahawks, 49ers, and Jaguars, some of their remaining schedule, I think there's a chance they lose out. And the big thing there is that the Jets hold their draft pick. Like they hold their next 2 first-round picks for what they gave up for Sauce Gardner. So that selection could get better and better and better.
I mean, not only the Colts probably going to lose, but they might be a disaster. Like currently, Anthony Richardson is on IR because he got hit in the face by a ball in a pregame warm-up. Riley Leonard apparently has an injured knee, so they literally don't have a quarterback right now. I don't know who they have on the practice squad, but they're like, this is like Jetsian with their quarterback situation, and it's fascinating that the Colts basically went all in. They put all their chips into the middle and then basically lost all of their money. That's just what happened.
Yeah.
Like they traded for Sauce. Sauce gets hurt. Daniel Jones was dealing with an injury, and then he tears his Achilles. So you trade your 2 first-round picks thinking, okay, we're going to turn around and pay him this offseason because we found our guy. Well, now, because he just tore his Achilles. Like, it's a disaster scenario that the Jets have to be enjoying quite a bit, Frank. That 2027 first-round pick looks even better than this one because I don't know how good the Colts are going to be next year unless they go and find somebody. So it's pretty crazy. Like, this is the risk you take when you go all in on one player who's not a quarterback like that, trading for a Sauce. And I mean, this might wind up costing Chris Ballard his job at some point, I would think. Like, that guy's been on the verge of the hot seat for a long time. So, but yeah, the Jets, I imagine that pick's going to be in the top 15. Like, that's crazy to think about because it felt like the Colts were a lock for the playoffs for a minute there. And now they're on the way out. So, that trade is looking better and better. And it's funny. Like, I don't think the Jets are going to win very many more games, if any. But, like, hypothetically, if they did, like, the Colts pick and the Jets pick are all of a sudden getting closer to each other in the order, which I wouldn't have expected.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. So you mentioned where it could go up to. I went back and looked because it's impossible right now to project all of the teams that are in front of the Jets and all of the teams in front of the Colts on what's going to happen. But historically, the last 2 years, so in 2024 for the 2025 draft, there were 3 teams that finished with an 8-9 record. It was the Dolphins, the Colts, and the Falcons. I believe it was the Falcons. I wrote down 2 teams by it. Was either the Falcons or the Cardinals. I can't remember which one I wrote down. I think it was the Cardinals. Miami picked 13, Indy picked 14, and then the Cardinals picked 15. So that was what 8 and 9 got you a season ago. It was either the 13th, 14th, or 15th pick. The year before that, in 2023, the Broncos and the Raiders both finished 8 and 9. Denver picked 12. The Raiders picked 13. So if the Saints, if the Colts do lose out to have a record of 8 and 9. That pick for the Jets historically is probably going to be anywhere from 12 to 15, which is a pretty good spot to be. Now, this draft isn't considered as deep as next year's draft, but still, I mean, you should be finding a 10-year starter with that selection. Like, you should be finding a legitimate star with a top 5 pick, which the Jets are going to have with their own selection, and then bounce back and find a legitimate starter on this roster, plus starter, potential Pro Bowler with that 12 or 13.
I mean, here's a just fun I just thought of in my head just now. Like, so let's say Ty Simpson and Dante Moore come out of the draft. The Jets get to 7. Ty Simpson's still on the board. You could draft a non-quarterback at 7 and then trade back up into the top 10 with the other one and go get a guy who probably has to sit for a year, and you get a bridge. Like, and then your roster is better and you still have all the assets that you had before, because I don't think you have to trade as much if you're going from, let's say, 13 to 9 or 13 to 10. you don't have to trade as much, maybe third round pick or something like that. So, the Colts losing out and the Jets losing out is, in terms of draft capital, the best case scenario, obviously.
Yeah, I mean that's the crazy thing is that I don't think that many teams need quarterbacks right now, which is a testament to some of the young talent combined with the veterans that we have across the NFL at the moment. But it's not like there's 10 teams that all need no doubt franchise quarterbacks and it's going to push a ton of these players down. So the Giants, what you just described is kind of what the Giants did, where they drafted Abdul Carter and they traded back up for Jackson Dart and it worked. So if you just look at the current NFL draft order, so you're like, I'm looking 1 through 7 with the Jets. The Giants aren't drafting a quarterback. The Raiders will, so there's 1. Titans aren't. I don't think the Browns are with how Shador's playing. The Saints might not with how Shuck's playing. Washington's obviously not going to draft one. Then you have the Jets. So say the Jets draft a playmaker there, right? So they don't even take their quarterback. They decide to wait a little longer. They take the best available playmaker. I guess the Cardinals go quarterback, right? Rams aren't going quarterback at 9, I don't think, unless they choose to draft someone to sit behind Stafford. Bengals aren't. Vikings maybe. So that's probably the spot you have to trade back up to is 11, 12 because the Vikings and Dolphins could both go with a quarterback if they don't like Tua and they don't believe in JJ. So there's certainly some intriguing possibilities there for that possibility. But honestly, Zach, I think more looking at this, I like the possibility of the Jets drafting the quarterback organically at 7, not having to trade up, saying, hey, look, we like 3 guys. 3 quarterbacks aren't going top 7. Like 3 guys aren't going to go. One of them's going to fall to us. We like all 3 of these guys. We're going to draft one. And then with our other first-round pick, which is 12, 13, 14, we're going to draft a really good player that's pushed back by maybe 3 quarterbacks. We'll see.